We have two sort of related stories to start things off, but these are becoming all too common nowadays. But we got to report on them when they happen. We don't make the news, we just report the news. So, Christopher Halali tweets out exclusive footage. Columbia student and Palestinian Mohsen Madawi was just arrested during a visit to the immigration office here in Colchester, Vermont. More to follow. Footage, Chris Halali. Yes, he wanted to make sure that everybody knew he got the exclusive. I guess when you live in Vermont, you don't get too many opportunities for an exclusive scoop because
Probably not.
it's typically a place where not much goes on. But here
Show
is
me on the puppet where Senator Sanders touched you.
yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. But here is some footage that went viral pretty quickly yesterday. There he is, flashing the peace sign. In relatively good spirits, given the fact that he was essentially ambushed at an immigration meeting and was arrested, put in the car, and taken away. One more step towards a world free of anti-Semitism.
I feel safer.
Yeah, exactly. I feel safer because of that. So, Drop Site News tweets out breaking: Mohsen Madawi, a Palestinian-born green card holder and student at Columbia University, deeply involved in pro-Palestinian activism, has been arrested by HSI agents in Vermont in the middle of his appointment to become a U.S. citizen. Madawi grew up in a Palestinian refugee camp in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, where his childhood was shaped by the Second Intifada. He experienced significant personal losses, including the death of his best friend during a confrontation with Israeli soldiers when he was 10 years old. He later studied computer engineering at Birzeit University in Palestine before enrolling at Columbia in New York, where he pursued studies in philosophy at the School of General Studies. At Columbia, he has organized protests and events addressing the Israeli genocide. Madawi has also emphasized empathy, and dialogue as pathways to justice and peace. He has participated in initiatives fostering cross-cultural understanding between Palestinians and Israelis on campus. And he was actually interviewed for 60 Minutes, where, as you could see here, the fight for freedom of Palestine and the fight against anti-Semitism go hand in hand, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So here's part of a 60 Minutes interview that he gave during the time of the Columbia encampments.
Action when you heard about the Hamas attack on October 7th?
I could not believe what my eyes were seeing, where I see Hamas members getting into settlements and so on. But also the first moment I saw that, I put my hand on my heart. And I started praying, knowing that there will be a huge level of revenge from the Israelis. And I was praying that this will not be the result, because it would be disastrous.
The night of the rally, I believe someone in the crowd said something very anti-Jewish, not just anti-Israeli, but anti-Jewish.
Yes, this was as a walkout on November 9th. And a person who is not affiliated with Columbia, we've never seen him, we don't know who is this guy, comes down the stairs yelling, "Death to Jews." I was shocked, and I walked directly to the person and I told him, "You don't represent us, because this is not something that we agree with." And directly what I've done, I took the megaphone and I gave a speech and I said, We here are conscious, educated students, and we know how to separate right from wrong. And what this guy has said is wrong. What this guy has said is clearly anti-Semitic against Jews.
Anti-Semitic.
To be anti-Semitic is unjust. And the fight for the freedom of Palestine and the fight against anti-Semitism go hand in hand, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Okay, so that was not an interview done man on the street style. That was on 60 Minutes. So those trying to build a case against this guy could see pretty clearly he's among the more moderate protesters, even. So, that was clearly available for all to see on a show like 60 Minutes. The New Republic wrote a piece here. Every part of this ICE arrest is horrific, especially the location. Mohsen Madawi, a Palestinian student leader at Columbia, was arrested in a trap set by federal immigration agents. The Trump administration used the citizenship interview as a pretext to arrest a Columbia University student of Palestinian descent. Mohsen Madawi, a U.S. permanent resident who has lived in the country for 10 years, showed up to what he thought was his citizenship interview Monday at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services office in Colchester, Vermont. Instead, he was arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which has begun deportation proceedings. The Columbia University student was a leader in the school's protests against Israel's brutal war in Gaza. Madawi was fearful of being deported even before his friend, Columbia graduate Mahmoud Khalil, was arrested last month by federal immigration agents. Madawi was included on a list of students the far-right pro-Israel organization Betar gave to the Trump administration in the hopes that they would be deported. Betar and the group documenting Jew hatred on campus at Columbia U also posted on social media multiple times about Madawi, tagging law enforcement agencies on each post. After asking university officials to find him a safe place to live where he wouldn't be detained by ICE and receiving no response, Madawi went into hiding before receiving an email notifying him of a citizenship interview at the UCSIS office earlier this month. Madawi worried that it was a trap and contacted his elected representatives in Vermont, Representative Becca Balint and Senators Bernie Sanders and Peter Welch. Yeah, that kind of explains why he looks so calm and at peace in the video. If you see again, didn't exactly seem shocked by this. Kind of seems like he saw it coming, unlike Ozturk, who we have a segment on coming up next.
Right.
She seemed genuinely shocked to be just plucked off the street in that way. All three promised to remain on standby, meaning the three representatives, the one congressperson and the two senators, pending Madawi's status after the interview, with Welch speaking to Madawi directly. In the end, it was a trap, and Madawi was detained with the same obscure immigration law used to detain Khalil and several other international students, including permanent residents, that their presence in the U.S. is a threat to the country's foreign policy interests. And more specifically now, we know because of Marco Rubio's memo as it pertained to Mahmoud Khalil, their foreign policy interest not being a military objective on behalf of Israel, but being a worldwide fight against anti-Semitism, which is the wokest foreign policy interest you could possibly think of. Brought to you by the anti-wokesters. But Nick Sorter thinks this is great. LAMO, the leader of Columbia University's anti-Israel riots, Mohsen Madawi, was arrested by ICE during his U.S. citizenship interview. He thinks it's really funny. That's how it's done. He is now slated to be deported back to Palestine. Nice work, Secretary Noam. So, yep, that's the crowd. That's the crowd cheering this on. These are the free speech people. I'm sure you could go back and find dozens of tweets of Nick Sorters about the various free speech infringements of Joe Biden and a would-be Kamala Harris, and perhaps even as far back as the Obama years, if he was active then. I don't know if he was active then. Probably not. Seems like a fairly young guy. But the point remains. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible It's just horrible. Here is another piece of video that I'm going to show you. This was taken by Jeremy Lafredo for the Gray Zone, who caught up with Mohsen at one of the Colombia encampments.
It is a huge disappointment. It's not a surprise. It is a huge disappointment that we come to a country that is bragging itself for free speech, bragging itself for holding the principles of human rights, and at the same time contradicting themselves when it comes to the Palestinian movement and to the Palestinian cause. Our demands are aligned with two principles. The first principle is equal human rights for all, for the Palestinians. I am myself a refugee, was born and raised in a refugee camp in the West Bank, and my family is still living in a refugee camp in the West Bank as a third generation. So we are demanding equal human rights for all, since we live under an apartheid system, and as well as the second principle, which is the free speech here on campus, which is part of a human right as well, a human right demands. The strongest supporter of Israel is the United States. As we see the bombs, most of the bombs that have been dropped on Gaza, the different weapons that they send to Israel, and the continuous vetoes that happens in the United Nations all the time by the United States practice. So it's not a surprise that they are trying to shut down even a peaceful, diverse movement that, as you see, so beautiful. We get a class that's being held there. We get a yoga
Yeah, look at
that
this
is
riot.
being held there.
Look at these rioters.
We get many different programs. All of these are aligned with the idea that
Apparently,
we need to
you've never
coexist,
heard of the
to
yoga
live in
riots of
peace and to
Krishnamurti.
ask for dignity for all
Very
people.
infamous.
So the United States government taking a position against this is a violation for the same principles and values that the United States itself holds and that this university holds. The core of our movement is not a threat to anybody, but it's a threat to systems of injustice, and Israel is a huge system of injustice. So they're trying to shut us down, trying to silence us, and we have said it before that our voices are much louder than the money and the power that Columbia University and beyond Columbia that's happening, because we are living now, we are paving the path for the new world, a peaceful world.
So what a
Lunatic.
yeah, exactly. I mean, what a just a calm, measured, well-spoken man. Doesn't matter. I mean, time after time we see this. Ozturk wrote an op-ed, as we'll see in the next segment, that was really all the evidence that they had on her. It simply doesn't matter. If you are not a native-born citizen, you have no right to oppose Israel. That's as of now.
Yeah.
Coming soon, nobody has a right to oppose Israel.
Exactly. This is the craziest, sickest, most deranged Zionist fanatics have been empowered by this administration to decide who they want to get deported. Miriam told her sock puppet, that's what this looks like. Yes, I know the people at Fatah. They are wonderful. You should listen. They have a list of all the people. Miriam, say no more. Say
Right.
no more. Right? And these people just go. Thinking about the poise and the grace of people who have experienced the circumstances that he did in the West Bank, who still care to make that distinction between what he experienced and Jews as a whole, and to make such an impassioned argument against anti-Semitism.
Didn't matter.
Right. No.
Yeah, just horrible. Just horrible. One more case, and we'll see where he ends up. But now we have a segment coming up about Rumeysa Ozturk talking about the shape that she is in, and just the deportation is an indignity of its own kind. You add to that the injustice of just keeping them around in jail. I mean, they have to be in jail now for however long until it is decided where they're going to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and the wokeness of it. It's the same exact claims of the woke people. It's always an existential threat to their safety, right?
Right.
You're literally threatening our lives. You're literally committing a genocide, right? These superheated, hyperbolic accusations. It's exactly the same playbook. I always despised those people because it was always clear to me that if you gave them permission and you gave them power, they would lock people up for speech. And
Right.
here you go. Same thing on the other side.
Please clap.